Talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside. Non-stop rock talk. It's non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside.
Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. I am your host, Tyson Bryden. On the show today, I happily welcome from the Sex Pistols and Manraze, drummer Paul Cook. Paul, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Perfect. Now, of course, as I mentioned, you're well known for drumming with the Sex Pistols. But I also mentioned Manraze, which is a band that includes yourself, Phil Collen of Def Leppard, and Phil's former bandmate in Girl. Hopefully I pronounced Simon's last name properly. Simon Laffy. Is that correct, Paul?
That's right. Yeah, Simon Laffy.
Okay, perfect. And your latest release with Manraze is entitled Lock, Stock, and Barrel. This is the complete recordings of 5-album collection. And I love the fact that the bio states supergroup, a term too often applied to bands that don't fully live up to the expectations that such description might suggest, which I think is cool. I will also make note that I don't need to ask about the band's sound because on CD number 2, the title says it all. Punk rock, roots rock, a title that you used when describing the band's eclectic sound. So as we start, I want to ask you about this compilation of music and how you feel about it, because frankly, the packaging looks fantastic, the cover art, the imagery surrounding all the promo, it looks amazing.
Yeah, well, we thought we'd get a whole package together, what you just mentioned there, because we've done this now about nearly 20 years ago, and we released a couple of albums. This little idea Phil had to get together a little 3-piece band with Simon, and myself got involved a bit later down the road. And it came out under the radar, really, those 2 albums. I don't think anyone still really knows about it that much. So we thought if we put all of this package together with everything we've done and just give it a little boost, it might just, inspire, jog a few people's memories about it a while back. And we think it's worth getting it out there again, actually, because there's a couple of great albums there.
I think the material is fantastic, and I do recall when the first, I think the EP or the album came out, I do recall it, but it kind of slipped under my radar. So this was actually the first time I actually sat down and got to listen to it, and it says exactly what it is in the term, punk rock, roots rock. And there's a lot of, like, I hear Phil in there, and I hear the punk elements and the roots rock, and it fully describes what it sounds like. And I highly suggest to people to check it out because it is really some really good material.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah, and like you say, it's very eclectic. I mean, it's good for us because Phil wanted to do something outside of the bubble of Def Leppard.
Yeah.
And I could do something outside of the punk scene, if you like, and Simon came from that glam girl scene, so we just threw everything into the mixer really and see how it worked out, and we all had an input in there, and like you say, all the influences came through what we've grown up listening to, the glam rock stuff, a bit of reggae stuff, out and out grungy stuff. There's everything there, a bit of soul stuff,
Yeah, and now asking about this package, is it available only on streaming, or are there physical products as well? Like you can buy the CDs?
Yeah, I think you can. If you got to order them. Obviously, though, I don't think you can go into a record shop and get them. I'm not sure. The fans will probably know more than me, actually.
Yeah. Have you actually seen the physical CDs, Paul?
Oh, yeah. I've got it, yeah.
Cool.
It looks great, yeah. And there's lots of extras on there that didn't come out on the albums, bits and pieces and some, stuff we done live, I think, live sessions and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot on there.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to talk about some of that stuff because I think it's important because the package is there's a lot of material there, and there's a lot of really great material, and I think it's really worth talking about. I Surrender is the single for the first single, which features Debbie Blackwell Cook, who has been collaborating with the band, I believe, since 2012 on the single Take on the World, which was the theme song of film director Mark Slopper's documentary Super Biker. She is also on 2 of the 3 tracks on the I Surrender EP, which are everything on there that I've mentioned is on this album, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And your question is?
Okay. Yes. And with all that said, this track is included on the disc, which is described as the last CD is unleashed and unreleased. This is a great song with a really great vibe. What's kind of the history behind this song? Why was it initially left off and then you guys kind of resurrected it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just a song that we had lying around. It was the one that we didn't finish initially, and it was just lying around for ages. And when it was decided to do the Lock, Stock and Barrel package, what you just mentioned, we thought we was looking around for all different sorts of stuff, and Phil found it, and we ended up finishing it off. And we got Debbie on there to sing, and it's another different flavour, you know.
Yeah,
So it's an unusual one. It's an unusual one, I think. It's not typical of the band really, but it was just a good one to release, I think, because it hasn't been out before. I think that was the idea behind it.
Yeah, it's a great song. I will say that. It is different, but it is a great song. And we're going to talk, there's an instrumental track of it as well, but as we go on, I'm going to ask you about that, or we're going to discuss that. Now, the very first track on the release is a song called This Is. As I listen to it, I get a realization that it does have a punk vibe, but what makes it interesting is I hear Def Leppard in there as well because of Phil's influence, and I can see how Def Leppard actually draws influence, and I've heard Phil say this, especially on their background vocals, the whole punk vibe vocally. Do you remember the writing and the workings of that song? Do the 3 of you send ideas back and forth, or do you guys actually get in a room and hash it out and play the songs together?
Well, both really, yeah. Initially, Phil was in LA a lot of the time because he was doing Def Leppard stuff, and he would send ideas over to Simon and myself, and we'd have a listen to them and just send some ideas back, make some comments. And then Phil would be in London as well a lot of the time, and we would all sit around in a room, actually. I mean, Phil would come up with these ideas for riffs, and Simon as well, and we'd all have our input just with arrangements and just general stuff, and that's how it happened, really. Like, I guess, how anyone writes a song.
Yeah, and I mean, I am a fan of that first Girl album. I think that album's phenomenal. I think it never got enough credit that it deserved, because it's a glam. They were kind of a glam band, but you also hear his influence on this music as well, because he was a big part of Girl and their sound. So messing all 3 of those things together, I think, is great. I'm not going to run through all the songs, but a few. Turn It Up is a really great song, and the style of drumming is kind of straight ahead, in your face. Tell me yourself as a drummer and how your influence contributes to the band's sound. I assume with your punk background, that kind of plays into it as well.
Yeah, it does, especially on songs like that, where you just mentioned Turn It Up, and This Is It, really out and out rockers, really. But there's a lot of other stuff on there, a lot of other flavours which I liked getting into, slower stuff, and there's songs with medium tempo and stuff that I wasn't used to playing, really. And it was great. It kind of pushed me as a musician and as a drummer, learning all this new stuff and these new rhythms, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, what would you listen to on an everyday basis? Like, if you're listening to music, what kind did you go back to and you have a listen to?
Oh God, I'm not sure really. Well, I was listening to the Faces the other day. Funny enough, I bought an LP of their first 2 albums. I listened to all sorts of different stuff. I was listening to the Queens of the Stone Age earlier, and all stuff like that. Rock bands. What's that? Oh yeah, Jenny's just helping me out here. We listened to a lot of Bob Dylan and Steely Dan as well. Can you believe it?
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And the only reason I ask that is because I'm kind of curious as you're talking about pushing the envelope a little bit, and what kind of maybe you're drawing from going into some of this material. And I know some of it goes back 20 years, but that's kind of why I'm curious to ask that question. So, a clever title included on disc 2 is entitled "I See You in Everything," and I love the spelling because it's ICU, like possibly hospital lingo. But
Yeah.
I mean, but there's also the way the kids talk today, texting. You know, everything's like a abbreviation. Was that ICU term kind of in terms of the hospital thing? Is that where you guys were going with that?
What do you mean in that? I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what hospital thing?
You know, like ICU, like yeah, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see. Oh, God, yeah. I don't know. Probably. You better ask Phil about it. I never thought of it like that. But at the time, everyone was shortening the language, all right, though, on texting and stuff like that. And it's getting worse now, actually. That's probably where that came from, actually. And I like that track as well. That's very different and spacey as well.
That's a cool track. And Over My Dead Body. Some of these titles are very clever as well. Like you look at the titles and you go, oh, that's a clever title. And I love the vocal execution on Over My Dead Body. It's funny, again, I hear how Phil's influence plays into that, and I think that was a great track. But when I also go through the tracks on the release, it becomes clear that many of the, like I said, this cleverness, lies, all lies again, that kind of wittiness, right?
Yeah.
Is there a conscious effort to have that wittiness in the songwriting, or it's just kind of how that all comes to be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Phil was quite an astute writer, you know, and I think British bands, especially, we do like to have a laugh, you know, and not take things too seriously, which a lot of rock bands can these days, which gets pretty tedious, you know, and got to lighten up a bit, I think. And yeah, it wasn't a conscious effort. I think that's just natural, really. That's just the way we were.
Yeah, I love that. Because sometimes when, like you said, when you listen to music, you're like, sometimes you just want to lighten it up. You want to have a little bit of a chuckle when you've got clever titles like that, right? So I really respect that. Now I mentioned CD3 is a collection of instrumental versions of the songs, which I think, is an avid music listener myself, it gives you a perspective of the material from an instrumentation point of view. Sometimes you focus on the vocal, so you don't get to hear what's going on behind the scenes. So you hear the song, and the fact that you can go back and listen to it, I think is amazing. An example of listening to Turn It Up, for instance, there's a section where it's the guitar and just your hi-hat, which I didn't notice listening to the initial song. And it makes you focus more. I Surrender as well, just hearing the more, I actually kind of got a U2 vibe from that drumming style.
Yeah, it kind of had a bit of an overall sound like that, but what you're saying, the instrumentals, right, you can focus on other things, and also you can sing along as well if you want.
Right, exactly, like a karaoke. You can be a karaoke singer in your car as you're listening to this stuff. And I always love that, because was there a reason why you guys felt like, let's put the instrumental stuff on here and let people hear it from that aspect?
Yeah, no, it's just because we had the tracks, and they were slightly different. I think slightly different takes. Am I right in saying that? There's slightly different takes and different mixes on them, and like you say, you get a different perspective of the song, I think, and I think that's a good thing. People like listening to that stuff.
Yeah, I was always intrigued when bands would do that behind the music thing, and they'd go in the studio and they'd break things down, and they'd play, oh, this is what this was like without the vocal or the background vocal, and stuff like that. So hopefully when people listen to this, they'll really enjoy that, because I think that shows a different side of the band, you guys, as the musicianship part of it, not just the vocal part of it and melodies and whatnot. So that's cool. Now, CD4 is a collection of live material and acoustic tracks. There are a couple shows on there. Do you recall those shows? And the band sounds incredible, by the way.
Well, you'll have to remind me actually what shows they were.
Hold on a second.
Are they on there? I haven't got the hard copy in front of me. Actually, I can't remember now. So,
okay, so we are looking at Mate's Studio.
all right.
And
Yeah, I remember that the recording at Mate's Studio. We just set up in there. We got a little crowd in there, private crowd. Must have been about 50 people, and it was like doing a little live show. And we hadn't played live that much, so we was testing out the waters, as it were, to see how we sounded. And I think it sounded great,
really
actually,
good.
listening to it. Yeah, it sounded pretty live, for a 3-piece as well.
yeah,
Which is very different as well. But, especially to Phil, he's playing with 2 guitars and a massive, lots of all different triggers going on all the time.
yeah,
I'm kind of more used to it because I've just played with Steve Jones and a bass player with the Pistols all the time. So we're like a 3-piece anyway, but Phil's singing, obviously, we're a proper 3-piece.
yeah.
And that was great. That was great trying it out like that, actually, live.
I actually love seeing Phil in that element. To see, because you're used to seeing him as the lead guitar player, and he sings an awful lot of backups in Def Leppard. I've seen Def Leppard multiple times, so I know what I expect. But to see him in this element, doing it that way, I love it. And the fact that I knew Phil could always sing because I've heard demos of Def Leppard stuff of him singing. So
Yeah.
I was well aware of how good of a singer he was. But to see him as the front man, I think, and pulling off the vocals and the guitar playing, and when I hear his solos, I know it's him because he's that type of player, because he's just got that sound, right?
Yeah, sure. You definitely know it's Phil, and he can pull it off as well. He can do no problem taking on the vocals and guitar, rhythm and lead at the same time. It's absolutely no problem at all.
Have you known Phil a long time? And Simon?
Not really. We only really connected then. I mean, I was aware of Phil. I think we passed over the years when we've been playing over the years back in the 90s, but we didn't really get to know each other until this came about with the Manraze recordings. We just connected. We kind of vaguely knew each other, I'd say.
I mean, because your circles of music are, they would cross, I think, some in the 80s with some of the 80s bands doing Sex Pistols songs, but for the most part, it was a different type of thing, right? Between the punk and the hard rock stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of different now. It's kind of a lot more mixed now. They do mix a lot more now these days, but it was quite segregated back there, should we say, you know what I mean? But we used to bump it. I mean, we bumped into Phil along the road when we was touring in 96 with the Pistols. We were touring, and Def Leppard are touring. They're always touring. So we bumped into them a few times along the way. And so, yeah, we did know each other.
Now, will you guys do any live shows to promote this album coming up? Will you do anything?
Well, you never know. I'm kind of busy with the Pistols till the end of the year, and Phil the same with Def Leppard again. So, but next year, you never know. We did talk about it. We have talked about it, but it all depends on the schedules. It'd be nice because this is out, is to underline it all with a few shows. I hope so is the answer to that.
I would. I mean, that would probably be based over on your side of the pond, I guess it would be, would it? Or would you come to North America?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe both. We'll see what the reaction is to it now that it's out. And like you say, a lot of people weren't even aware the band existed. So maybe more people will know. When we tried to play initially, way back, and we weren't getting many people turn up. So it was a bit difficult, because we didn't have a record label, no promotion, etc., etc. And so this time maybe it might be different.
It deserves to be for people to get out, to hear it, to hear what this is all about. Because, like I said, I think it's fantastic. It's just like this, like I said, this amazing eclectic mixture of great musicianship and great songs. So,
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I agree with you, obviously. Yeah.
Now, switching gears a bit, we were just mentioning the Pistols. There are upcoming tour dates for the Sex Pistols with yourself, Steve Jones, Glenn Matlock, and Frank Carter, I believe, on vocals. What can you tell me about the tour and what can be expected?
Well, the tour's been going great. We've been doing it for over a year now, on and off. We're coming to the States and Canada soon, in a couple of weeks, to kick off the North American tour, which was cancelled from last year, actually, because Steve fell over and broke his wrist. So we had to cancel it for a year. And yeah, it's been, I mean, we've obviously got a new singer, but it doesn't seem to make much difference. People are still we're really enjoying it. People are loving it, coming to see us play all the songs. And it's been going fantastic, actually. The reaction has been great from the crowds and the press alike. So yeah, it couldn't be better.
Have you talked about maybe doing another album?
No, we thought we'd a little bit maybe. We thought we'd get this tour out of the way and see how we'll land, and then take it from there. Really, you never know.
Yeah, what do you think that would sound like today?
Oh, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't live up to people's expectations. I don't know. It's difficult to say, and not massively different. I don't think, because it stood the test of time. Never mind the bollocks, the album, and it sounded great then, and it still sounds relevant now. So it's we could still sound like that and be kind of current, really, I guess.
You know what's funny about the Pistols is that I was growing up in the 80s. I was a hard rock guy. I mean, Def Leppard and Motley Crue and stuff like that. But the Sex Pistols were always a band that I loved because there was just something about it. It didn't matter. It was rock and roll to me, and it did. I didn't care that, a punk or a rocker or whatever it was. It was just great music. And I think what did that for me too was that, like bands like Megadeth and Motley Crue and Skid Row would do covers of the Sex Pistols, which made you aware of this great music. And then you'd go back and listen to the originals and go, oh, this is so cool. You know what I mean? There's just something special about this music. So, yeah,
well, like you say, we're a rock band, really. I mean, people get obsessed with these labels, punk, metal, thrash metal, all this sort of thing. But we kind of crossed over a little bit, and we are now. We still play, we play hard rock festivals. We can play punk festivals. We've played a few metal festivals, which is interesting.
No doubt.
Yeah, but we seem to do okay with that audience. And like you say, it's at the end of the day, it's a rock band. I mean, a lot of punk bands don't even consider us a punk band. They think punk rock is 90 mile an hour thrashing away, which we definitely aren't.
Oh, you guys had attitude, man. It was just this whole thing. It was amazing. And I think I need to ask this. After all these years playing the Sex Pistols music, those amazing songs, does it still feel like it did back when you started?
It does, actually. I still get such a kick out of playing those songs and playing live, and the crowd do as well. Like I just said, it's every time. I haven't got bored with it yet.
Amazing.
And I guess, if I did, I wouldn't be doing it. I would never do stuff that I'm just running through the motions on. It's every gig. Some of the gigs have been absolutely some of the best we've done ever. It's been fantastic.
That's amazing. I mean, getting back to what we were talking about, the 80s and whatnot. And the 90s. I always loved his work, like his Steve Jones solo stuff, and then I loved the Neurotic Outsiders album, which they just re-released. They finally put out on vinyl last year, which for Record Store Day, which I thought was awesome. And I always loved his stuff too. And he was just a rock and roll guy. You know what I mean? Like hard rock, whatever you want to call it. That's just what it was. And just great music is great music.
Exactly, yeah. And like I say, people like to label stuff, but for what ends, you know. And Steve, like you say, is just a great rock guitarist, and he could play any great rock band, you know, rhythm guitar if he wanted to. It's great, and his sound is. Many people have tried to copy it over the years, you know, and that says it all, really.
Exactly. Well, Paul, I want to thank you for joining me today. It truly has been a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
No, not really. Just come and check us out when we're there. You know, we're still doing it. We're still rocking and not running through the motions, as I said earlier. And you'll love it if you're a Pistols fan and you like the album. You will love it. And Frank is great, our front guy. He really delivers. He's a real deal.
I'm sure there's footage of him on YouTube, I would assume, of him with the band. I'm going to check that out because I haven't checked it out. I want to see that, so I will. But anyways, Paul, thank you so much again, and you enjoy the rest of your day. And best of luck on the tour. I hope it all goes well, and you enjoy North America being over here. So,
thank you very much. See you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.